on YouTube, big style. Welcome, 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 I say, to tonight's edition of Cars. Now, all we do in this program, because this is only the second one, we did one last week with a few chums coming and joining us, and that, of course, was wonderful stuff. But it was just about half an hour of chat. And that's what we'll do tonight, but hopefully with some more people joining us. So if you've got something to say about cars, feel free to come on and tell us all about them. That would be tremendous. Now, it can be anything to do with cars, no problem at all, just whatever you feel comfortable with. How amazing is that? And somebody had texted me today and said, will there perhaps be some chat about steamboats? And I said, well, I think at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, some people might be steamboats. So there we are, a good impersonation, a good impressionation, I say. Hi, Scottie, how are we tonight? Kareem, thank you for coming and joining us. You're a great man. You're as good as your word. You said you'd be here, and here you are. I really, really do appreciate that, because we haven't really done much on YouTube for some time, and I think it's important that we start to build up the connection again, because I've been doing so much on TikTok, of course, at Scottie McClue. So if you're a TikToker, go and follow me at Scottie McClue on TikTok. But most of our TikToks, certainly the longer lives, we upload here to YouTube. So you should be able to get them within the YouTube videos as well. Now, cars, we talk about all sorts of things. So anything to do with automotives, anything to do with the industry, obviously we're very careful. We don't slag anything off. We're not a knocking shop. So there we are. Scottie, let's start the debate. Why are Volvos so good? Well, I can't remember the original Volvo coming in, because I think it came in the late 1940s, early 50s. But certainly I have had a lot to do with Volvos in my life, and they were way, way advanced for their time. Obviously, they're a Swedish car, so they're built to deal with the Scandinavian climate. The engines are very, very well tested, of course, petrol engines mainly. And I can remember when you had the 120 series Volvo, and they were lovely, lovely, smooth cars, beautifully engineered, beautifully built, very smooth running train, great transmission and engines, of course, and they're built to stand that climate, and everything about them, even down to the choke lever, because you're chokes in these days. And I think the carburetors were Webers or Webers, however you want to pronounce that. And you had a four-cylinder engine of about between 1800 and 2 litre. Was it the B series engine they called that? And they were just so reliable, to be honest with you. Rear-wheel drive cars, but very, very good. And you could actually throw them about. They handled themselves very well. Lovely big steering wheel. But of course, their great boast was safety. And they'd crash tested them with dummies. So they were some of the earliest cars to have rigid neck restraints, to have, I think, in them, the whole thing, they had very strong bodywork. And there was crumple zones on them, front and rear. And the wings and everything were bolt on. So a big, square, comfortable motor with quality components. You can't beat it. And they had an absolute belter called the Volvo when they went into the 140 series. You could have the 142 and the 144. They also did the one that you saw appear with Simon Templar in the Saint. That was the P1800S, a sports car. A lovely, lovely thing. So I hope that answers some of your questions there. Fantastic. And let you know what you think. But safety was the big thing. Now, there we are. Thank you, Scottie. Why are American cars unreliable and very, very bulky? Well, of course, American cars were really built for show. You know, apart from when Henry Ford did the Ford on the production line, that was for the man in the street to get mobile. But a lot of the American cars, the big ones, the Studebakers and the Chevrolets and whatever, they had what's called, you see, British cars had quite good primary safety. Now, primary safety means the drivetrain, road holding, things like that. American cars tended to have secondary safety, good secondary safety, but they looked good. So you had lots and lots of metal dashboards as well. Not quite so good to be in an accident, of course. No car is absolutely good to be in an accident, but I think that's what you'll see there. So primary and secondary safety, but they were great for gadgets. Very, very good. And I think they tried to do too much. I mean, things like 5.7 litre engines in things like the Ford Thunderbird, that sort of stuff, and the headlights opened up when you switched on. And thank you, Scottie. Absolutely. What do you think of electric cars, Scottie? Well, Mega Chelsea, I'm not terribly impressed at the moment. I have to be honest with you. I really am not impressed because at the moment they could take you to the end of the road plus. So, they're kind of, I'm not liking the idea that it's restrictive motoring. After the Second World War, you had what was called austerity motoring. So you had big flashy cars with tiny engines. That was the thing at the time, the austerity motoring. But I'm not a great fan of that concept. And therefore, electric cars, we must ensure we don't go too bananas with the so-called green, and that we don't pass off polluters under the green label. Are you with me? Do you get my drift? So there we go. Scottie, a wee trick question. Has Scotland ever produced their own make of car? Yes, Scotland has a remarkable history in the automotive industry. And a very good trick question. We like the trick questions, Kareem, but it's not been terribly good at sustaining the business because they have labour problems. So your average worker in Scotland has a slightly different philosophy to your average capitalist or your above average capitalist. And that is wherein the problem lies. Plus, the Scots had very, very high standard of engineering, so they tended to over-design. So two of the main players in the early part of the 20th century were Argyll motor cars, Argyll, built in Argyll at Alexandria. And the other one was Arroll Johnson that started off in Dumfries and ended up in Lanarkshire, Arroll Johnson. But they were beautifully built. Argyll over-designed, used a lot of brass and high-quality metals. And that was the kind of undoing of the business. I can remember seeing a postcard that said, "What think you of the Argyll shares?" And I think the postcard was dated something like 1911. So, my grandfather was very much to the fore. And you can still see the frontispiece to the Argyll Motor Factory in Alexandria in Dumbartonshire. They've kept the front of the factory. It's a lovely piece of architecture. So there we are. Me neither, Scottie. Where's the infrastructure for electric cars going to come from? Absolutely, Mega Chelsea. And the other thing is these batteries. They use very, very expensive mined metals, So, there's going to be problems with that as well. Scottie, what's been your favorite cars you've owned or have driven? Kareem, I think Volvos. I will go big on Volvos because my father ran Volvos for years and had 4 of them. And so an excellent car. Rovers were another one. The build quality wasn't outstanding, in line with the British motor industry, but they were excellent cars to drive, very, very smooth cars to drive, going right back to the P4s. So there we are. But my favorite, I think, has to be the Morris Minor. I don't know that I would want one now because I'm so used to comfort, because I've run a lot of Land Rover products. But the Morris Minor was an outstanding motor car. And a friend of mine knew Alec Isigonis, the designer, very, very well. And Alec Isigonis had designed the Morris Minor in 1948. But in 1958, he set about the Mini. And when my friend asked him for Sunday lunch, he said, "Reg, I don't think I'll make it Sunday because I'm just so busy with this new car." He said, Alec, you need to have a break. He said, bring your work with you. You can use my study, have lunch, and then you can go upstairs and get on with it. So Alec did that. He came for Sunday lunch to Reg and to Joyce, and had his Sunday lunch, went upstairs to Reggie's study to work, came down for afternoon tea about 3, 4 o'clock. Reg said, how's it going? He said, I'm having quite a job with this new car, Reg. I've even tried putting the engine sideways in the front. I can't get the power to weight ratio right. Is that not beautiful? And that's a true story. Who sent me £1? Kareem, is that you at your shenanigans? How very kind of you. Yep, and how will we dispose of all the batteries? It won't work, Mega Chelsea. You're 100% correct. You're spot on there. So there you are. So my favourite car. But of course, everybody's favourite car, a bit like your first partner. Like in my case, my first girlfriend. They are your first love. But what's interesting about it is my first car was a 1952 Austin Somerset, right at the height of austerity British motoring. 1200 engine, huge big body, column change, very smooth, great fun. Yes, absolutely wonderful stuff. So thank you very much for that. Indeed, and the electric cars, obviously, a big concern. Thank you so much for your questions. If you've just joined us, folks, a very, very warm welcome. You're watching Scottie McClue live. This is the second of our programs on cars, and we chose 11 o'clock to do it on a Saturday night. We did the first one last week, and it was popular during the week. Only a handful of us, but hopefully people will come and drop in and join us. My feeling on the internet, build and they will come. I thank you very, very much. My first car was a Seat Ibiza. Not my favorite, Scottie, no, but Seat, Spanish company, very, very good. A lot of their stuff now, of course, a lot of it aligned with products like Audi and what have you. Very, very good indeed. And of course, you had many takeoffs of the Fiat. The Lada was a design of the Fiat 124, I think. Yes. Woo! It's warm on here. It must be the excitement and the tweeds on a summer's night. Fantastic. But I thought I'd dress up to look as if I was doing a bit of motoring, austerity motoring. Fantastic stuff. Yes, the Seat Ibiza. I mean, I want you guys to tell me what was your favorite car. I think that's very important that we have that as well. Fantastic stuff. If you'd like to ask a question, by the way, just to keep you up to date in the land of McClue, there's talk of me going back on the radio again. And there's also talk of doing a YouTube phone-in. Now, that will be very, very big. So can I suggest that everybody taps the bell? Let me know. Yes, very important there as well. Tremendous. What was your favorite cars? Do tell me, Mega Chelsea. You will have a favorite car. Come and tell us what is what. I love the chat. I think that's outstanding. If you're watching, give us a thumbs up, please. Go on and give us a thumbs up. And tell 10 to tell 10 to tell 10. Share this as well and let everyone know. Scottie, so far my favourite car has been the Peugeot. The 2008, excellent quality, very comfortable. Peugeot, of course, French manufacturer, goes without saying really, but I'll say it anyway. And they made outstanding cars. One of the ones I loved from Peugeot was their 504. Really very, very good. Excellent engines. What we call bomb-proof in the trade. So there you are. Very good Peugeot engines. And I think it was even a Peugeot adaptation that was in the 2-litre diesel Land Rover, a Range Rover at the end. Mega says, I have a Vauxhall Mareva, actually a really good car, apart from the electric handbrake, which sometimes sticks. Yes, you see, the thing is, cars ran very well in the 1930s. Now, if we have any unreliability in a motor car, it's usually electronics. And I was talking to a gentleman once who was a trained mechanic. He worked for one of the recovery and rescue services. And he said to me, I'm a trained mechanic. He said, very good motor engineer. But I really go along now and plug my computer into modern cars, into diagnostics, and it tells me what's wrong. So there you are. Scottie, your view on Ford cars. People have mixed reviews regarding them. I've never been a massive fan of Fords, I will be honest with you. But sometimes when my so-called luxury car had broken down, I sort of prayed and wished that I'd maybe bought a Ford. But they're very, very good. I've had work cars that were Fords. I can remember Mark III Escort Estates. Very, very good cars, yes. A lot of the Ford Escorts, the Cortinas, I can go back to the Mark I Cortina. I think you had a 1200 and a 1500. Then the Mark II Cortina. One of my favorite Fords was the, now wait, and I shall tell you exactly the one. It was one of the big ones, and it was the Granada. An automatic Ford Granada was a very smooth luxury car. So there you are, just letting you know. And of course, we had consoles, Mark I and Mark II. I had a friend who had a 1953 Mark I console. And it really was such a fabulous creature, this. So reliable. Wonderful. So there you go. So although people have mixed views on Ford cars, they do a good range. They do something to suit the budget. They're designed for easy servicing, for reliability. And, you know, a lot of them are quite comfortable as well. So, you know, I'm not in the business of knocking any particular range, because manufacturers do very well and struggle very hard to get it right for the customers. There you are. And remember, when the Japanese joined the market, very, very good engineers, you know, suffered a little bit in the early days, the same as German cars suffered after the Second World War. People say, I would never buy a Japanese car after what they did to your papa in the camp. Things like that, you know, but they've done very well. Very nice and light. I remember the early Datsuns. Does anyone remember the Datsun Cherry? There we go. What do you think about the Tesla cars, Scottie? Very good cars and well priced. So again, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, as they say. The only trouble is cars are a way to sell finance. So it's unlikely that anyone's going into a showroom and paying cash. There we go. The problem is, if a pandemic hits, then the repo man can come and take the car away, and the family are without the car. That's the problem. Scottie, when I was a boy, my dad had briefly the Vauxhall Cavalier. I loved that car so much. Was it a Mark I or a Mark II Cavalier, Kareem? Do tell me, because they're both excellent cars. And also Vauxhall. See, Vauxhall was General Motors, or is General Motors. So therefore, you had things like the Opel Kadett and the Vauxhall Chevette, you know, that sort of idea. You had the Senator, the Vauxhall Senator, which I think was the Opel. Now, what was the Senator? The Opel Record, I think that one was, if I remember rightly. So there you go. So very good cars, America. Chelsea, yes, indeed. And, of course, we love the big cars, but they're complicated. You don't see so many of the top-of-the-range stuff now, the Rollses and the Bentleys. I read that Vauxhall are now owned by France. Well, there we are, Kareem. How very interesting. But you see, motor manufacturers have always been bought up. That's just what the trade's about. If you think about it, when Lord Roots, Willie Roots, appeared on the scene, he bought up a lot of big British names. So you had things like Sunbeam, Hillman, Humber. What else was in that range? The Sunbeams, the Hillmans, the Humbers. What else? We had others. Hillman, Sunbeam, Hillman, Humber. What else came in with that range? It'll come back to me, but they came in with a range. And of course, your amalgamation. So, the original names like Armstrong and Sidley, they were actual people. Bentley was an actual guy, Walter Owen Bentley, W.O. Bentley. So these people are around at the time. So John Black, Standard Motors, fantastic. The Vanguard and the Standard 10 Companion, tremendous stuff. Scottie, when was your first experience on a steamboat? I've never been on one. When I was very young, Kareem, because you see, a lot of the Clyde steamers were from the late 1920s and early 30s. And they were turbines. In 1896, a yacht named Turbinia tried out these turbines for Charles Parsons turbines. And they were so successful that they fitted them into a leisure boat, the King Edward, in 1901. So the King Edward, her turbines are still in the Glasgow Museum. I don't know if they're now in the Transport Museum. They were in Kelvin Grove when I was young, because we didn't have the Transport Museum then. And that was the turbines out of the King Edward. And that was the story kind of up until the last turbine steamer was probably maybe the Marchioness of Lorne. Was it the Marchioness of Lorne or the Marchioness of Graham? One was a paddler, one was a turbine. And so the 1930s were kind of the end of the turbines, but they ran well into 1970. And I believe they're restoring the Queen Mary II. So Denny built with Parsons turbine. I think I could be wrong, but was there not a steamboat from Loch Ness to Inverness? There have been many over the years. You see, the steamboats go back to things like, well, the leisure trade go back to the 1850s. And you had David Hutchison, who I think was an uncle of David McBrain. David Hutchison. You can see the Hutchison Memorial if you go to Oban. It's out on Kerrera. So there we are. But yes, McBrain's ran steamboats from Loch Ness to Inverness. Of course they did. Was it things like the Chevalier and the Cavalier and stuff like that? Fantastic days. So there we are. So the steamboats, yes, they were very big. And of course, it was a great way to get about Scotland, Kareem. So you could have gone into Glasgow to Bridge Wharf, and at 11 minutes past 7 in the morning, you'd have got the Columba, and you could have been in Ardrishig in Argyll for 1 o'clock. And on board there was a shop, a hairdresser's, a barber's, and a post office. She also had entertainment, very sumptuous settees, beautiful paddle engines gleaming to go and watch. And the voyage was beautiful. It was a lovely day. And if not, there was plenty of drink in the bar and plenty of food in the galley for you, the restaurants. So you could go to the restaurant, and when you went aboard, you could have breakfast, morning coffee and tea at 11 says, as we called it. You could have your lunch at 1 o'clock, which would be things like sausage, bacon and egg, steak, pie, potatoes, vegetables, that sort of idea. Fish, perhaps. And then also you could have afternoon tea and even a high tea. I can remember high tea on the boats at 7 and 6pence. Quite a lot of money at the time, but well worth it. Fish and chips on a Saturday. Scottie, when the YouTube call-in starts, I need to try and get through for a wee chit-chat and ask my 2 questions like a nation. Absolutely, Kareem. I'm just going to have to get together with the software, work out which way we're going about it, and we will have a YouTube phone-in for you. Now, it will be massive. So can everybody check that they have subscribed and tapped the bell? Let me know when Scottie McClue goes live. I've been away from YouTube for a while in general because I've been doing a lot on TikTok. So if you're a TikToker, have a look at TikTok at Scottie McClue and join me there. Fantastic. I can't believe how quick the time's going in. So there we are. So 2 things in McClue's life is TikTok, of course, the fact that we may have a new YouTube phone-in soon, and also I may be going back on the radio, right? There's a lot of talk about that. So that's you up to date with that. If you've just joined us tonight, a very, very warm welcome. You're watching the second edition of Cars with me, Scottie McClue, and we're discussing anything to do with motor cars. Feel free to come and join us, Dinky-Doo. You'll see I've got a wee display for you behind here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? So there we are. Have a little look. Tell me what you think. Fantastic. And there's a little display for you. I don't know if you can see my wonderful little model there. Tremendous stuff. And a very, very warm welcome to you, I say. Kareem, have you just sent me another £1? You're a very, very generous man. Fantastic. Now, what have we got here? Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. So if you've got any comments on motor cars, do come and feel free to discuss them. We always do these wonderful things on here. This is only our second program, but it's proving popular already. I loved you on the radio on Century 105.4. Ah, Mohammed, that was the Northwest's finest radio hour. What an outstanding station. Why do companies come along and damage these beautiful stations? You know, phone in, the nighttime phone in with Scottie McClue, right across the Northwest, and then we linked up with the Northeast and the Midlands. Oh, 9-10 million people. Fantastic stuff. What cars are you interested in? Anything, Alex, everything. Anything and everything. That's why we started the program last week, because I thought we need to get ourselves onto something people are comfortable with. And cars, everybody loves cars. So, you know, anything you'd like to talk about, you're very, very welcome. But I can't believe the time. We're only coming out for half an hour, and that's 27 minutes already. Incredible. Scottie, just to say thank you again for tonight. It felt like old times again. Very personal and great for the fans. What was the name of the train track that Harry Potter uses? It looks beautiful. That's the old West Highland line going up by the Glenfinnan Viaduct. Beautiful. And that's what you'll get there. And the train itself, I don't know which one they're using. Is it the Jacobite? Or is it the wonderful one that you got from Boat of Garton to Aviemore? You know, tremendous, the steam train up in the Spey Valley steam train. My family still rave about your fireside chat when I was learning to drive in 1999. Mohammed, what a lovely thing. Please tell your family Scottie McClue is asking for them big style. Tremendous. Just going to have a quick mop down, quick comfort break. Whew. I may have been a little ambitious popping on my motoring hat and my tweeds for tonight. There we are. Fantastic stuff. That's what it's all about, I say. Scottie, when I was learning to drive, I passed fourth time. It was tough. Don't worry. I was second time, Kareem. Yes, he had to tap the speedometer. I was just going over 30, but he took his pen and went tap, tap on the speedo. And that was enough to fail me, I think. And the second time, no problem at all. But we had a wonderful, wonderful instructor. In Greenock at the time was the John S. Phillips Driving School. And the chief instructor was a Mr. John Cuff, who was a marvelous man. So if anybody passed their test under Mr. Cuff, do let us know. What is your dream car? Well, Alex, it's not what you think. I don't have any madness about them. I love Jaguars, but particularly old Jaguars. And my love of Jaguar goes up till about the Series 3, the last of which came out around 1992. So, you know, that's very much a dream car. But I tended to run Land Rovers because they were comfortable and reliable. And I've had excellent service from Land Rover, I have to say, for the past 27 years, I think we're talking. 26, 27 years. Scottie, what's the future of cars? What can we expect to see? And what will we sadly see gone? Well, I'm very concerned about this so-called green agenda because I don't know it's as green as it's cabbage looking. So that's, see what I just did there? So be very wary of the green agenda being pushed. But there's talk that they might start to phase out diesel cars by 2036. Now, that's only 14 years. So let's hope that kind of falls by the wayside. I know diesel isn't the healthiest of fuels, but it's a wonderful fuel for reliability and economy. So there we go. So I'm a bit of a heavy oil fan. I'm also a bit of a petrol head. And now the engines are tiny. I was in a garage one day and I said to one of the senior mechanics, "What's this you're working on?" He said, "Oh, it's just a wee runner we picked up for £100. And this was quite a modern car. He said, "It won't be around the same time as your Land Rover, but it's a good little cheap runner." And he was busy. He took a screwdriver and prized off the head gasket. He was rebuilding the engine. But at 100 quid, you know, what? Who's complaining? They are phasing diesel out, my friend. And my friend recently bought a new car and was told he can no longer buy a diesel car. Well, you see, this is the problem. And the government actually made a tremendous mess of this and caused absolute mayhem for the motor trade. So politicians need to take a rain check on what they are saying when it's stuff that affects ordinary people and big players like the motor trade. And they'd mentioned something about diesels and it caused a stushy. This was a few years ago now, of course. So there you are. But no, I like the idea that you would still be able to run a diesel car. So perhaps if we can't get a new one, we can run a second-hand one for as long as it takes. That would be tremendous. Now, what have we got here? Any more comments, guys? Any more chat? We've been up for 32 minutes. It's been a lovely, lovely program tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. A real belter. And this is only our second one. I just took it into my head last week. I thought I'll pop up for a few minutes and have a chat about cars because I know people like the cars. And we did our second one tonight. And here we are. If you're watching right now, can you give me a thumbs up? You'll see the little thumbs up just below the video. And it would be tremendous if you could pop in there and give me a thumbs up. So that would give us something like 12 likes. So if you're watching, if you can like this YouTube right now, that would just be terrific. Thank you so much. You're watching Scottie McClue, the First Lord of the Internet. Hashtag FloatEye, First Lord of the Internet. And what we're doing right now, we're discussing anything to do with cars, anything to do with motors, as we say in Scotland. Now, what have we got here? Honda not making another diesel car, I don't think, along with many other manufacturers. That may well be the case, Alex. And of course, the Japanese were very good. They used to only run diesels for a certain time. And then you could actually go and purchase a second-hand Japanese diesel engine straight out of the car and crate it up and pop it into whatever you wanted to pop it into in this country. I mean, I've even seen a Land Rover, I think it would be a Series 2 or a Series 2A, with a Gardner diesel in it. I think it was a 3-cylinder. Now, a Gardner is a very steady, heavy engine. And for diesel engine road vehicles, DERVs, it was the Leyland Arab buses tended to have Gardner diesels in them. A gorgeous old engine, though, because Lawrence Gardner was a machinist and a very, very fine machinist in Patricroft in Manchester, Barton. And it just said L. Gardner machinist. And the machining was so good that the only gasket on the Gardner heavy oil engine, not diesel, see what I just did there, heavy oil engine, the only gasket was the cylinder head gasket. Everything else butted up and bolted in beautifully. They are Lawrence Gardner, L. Gardner machinist. Kareem asks me, how does electric cars work when charging? The cost of petrol, I know, £10, etc., but the charging, don't know about the cost of electric cars at the moment. Electricity, I should say. Difficult word for me at this time of night, of course. But I'm not sure about that, Kareem. Do you pay for a charge? I don't have an electric car. So do you pay for a charge at the moment? So there we are. Do tell us. Somebody's got an electric car. Come on and tell us. Mega Chelsea, how are you on electric cars? Guys, if you're watching right now, do me a massive favor and just like the stream, the wee thumbs up. Just click like. You'll see a thumbs up to the left of the bottom of this video. And if you can give us a thumbs up, that would just be outstanding. Now, do you think we should go for program 3 next week of cars? Tell me what you think. Have you enjoyed tonight? My father had a Series 2 Land Rover that had a V8 in it. Felt it was going to blow up. Oh, Alex, that would be a mover. The problem is the engine's a little bit powerful for the road holding, but off-road it would do very well. That was the Rover V8, which of course was the Buick in an earlier life, and it had the cast iron block, but I think that changed to an ally block. It's an outstanding engine. I've had 2 of them. One bored out to a 3.9 fuel injection, but beautiful smooth engine. Dinky-Doo, Scottie, J-Dog Gaming, how lovely of you to join us. We have had the most outstanding program tonight. Would you agree, folks? Has this been a belter? There we are, program for infinity, Scottie. Do you think this is a winner, Kareem? Do you think people will enjoy having a bit of a chit-chat about cars? I think it's tremendous. What we'll do is tonight, I'll not overdo it with you. We'll push off in about 3 minutes' time, if that's all right with you. Fantastic. Anybody else got a question about the motor trade, motor cars, putting cars on the road, running cars, the expensive cars, what kind of engines, models, manufacturers, names, places, all that stuff. The big centre of the British motor industry tended to be Birmingham and Coventry and Solihull, all collected round about the Midlands, which were very, very big in engineering. Tremendous, particularly Brum and Coventry. And that's why you got Jaguar were at Brown's Lane. Because you see, they started off, the founder of Jaguar, Sir William Lyons, Bill Lyons, started off in Blackpool building sidecars for motorcycles. And his company was called Swallow. And they were in Blackpool. And then they were Swallow sidecars. So they were SS. And that's when you got Jaguar was a model of the SS company. So that's why you had the SS 100 Jaguar. Isn't that interesting? There's a wee story for you. Oh, yes, I'm not just an athlete, you know. Scottie, would also be good to do a show on food. Yes, I think, Kareem, these things, people are fascinated by all these things, and I can't believe the response we've got already. It's, you know, I mean, it's 20 to midnight on Saturday evening, and here we are, Scottie McClue, the first lord of the internet, and some of his favorite chums discussing motor cars on YouTube. And, you know, I just see it having huge, huge potential. There we are. J-Dog, welcome. Thanks, Kareem. Encore, says Mohammed. We the people want more. We the people are very, very important. We the people. Thank you, Mohammed. Bless you. Scottie, I'll say good night. Thanks for tonight. Speak tomorrow on TikTok. Look forward to program 3 next week. Night all. Good night, Kareem. Bless you. And thanks very much for joining us, Dinky-Doo. Can we all say good night to Kareem, who is a stalwart of Scottie McClue's programs? If you haven't seen me for a long time, guys, I've done a lot of work on TikTok. So if you get yourselves onto TikTok at Scottie McClue, you will see some outstanding things there. Wonderful. Good night, Kareem. Good night, everybody. And that's us. 40 minutes, guys. Listen, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Scottie McClue's Cars on the YouTube channel, #FloatEye, First Lord of the Internet. Night, night, Scottie. Night, night, Mega Chelsea. Bless you, I say. Thank you so much. Night, night, Mohammed. Night, night to J-Dog. Night, night to Karim. Night, night to everybody who has been so kind and come on to join us tonight for the second edition of Cars. Good night, everybody. And as we say in the very best of circles, Dinky-Doo. Ta-ra, lads.